Happy New Year!
Hey, 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 and welcome to After Hours here at Linda's Electric Quilters.
Yay!
We are super excited to be joining you this evening. It feels like forever since we've done our last video. The holidays and everything like that. We hope you had a great Christmas, a great happy holidays, and a great New Year.
Exactly. Super, super excited to be back.
I know. I'm so excited.
2022!
Yes, 2022. Exactly. And New Year brings new tools and new friends to the table.
Exactly.
So we're going to jump into, in just a moment, a great new tool that you're going to want to have with you in your stitching arsenal, especially with sewing, quilting, crafting. It is awesome to have just right there with you.
Exactly. And it's so cost effective, you'll buy one for your friend.
Exactly. So before we get started, make sure you subscribe to our channel. It's going to be right down at that bottom right-hand corner. After you click on that subscribe button, make sure you click on the little bell that shows up so you can get notified whenever we post new videos or go live on our multiple different shows.
Yay! Okay, I'm excited. Let's get into it.
Okay, so this is going to be the Stitcher's Friend.
Yeah.
And it's 10 different tools in one.
Yes.
I absolutely love this little template. It comes in this nice lime green color. We'll get you a close-up in a second. We can look at all the different tools. But these 10 different tools in one, you'd be surprised how many times you use all of these different things while you're sewing or while you're quilting, and you can just have it all in one little bit.
Exactly. And it's so lightweight and so small, you can put it in anything.
Definitely.
You can carry it in your purse. And you can take it on a plane.
So let's go overhead and take a look at the 10 different tools that are built into this.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
So we've got the tool right here, and like I said, this is 10 different tools in one. You can see them all kind of put together on this little dial here.
Cool.
I call it a little dial because it has that little side swipe there.
Yeah.
There's so many different options here. So that first tool in the arsenal, you've got a 6-inch ruler on this upper side here. And then we're going to go into having a 5-centimeter ruler and a 50-millimeter ruler.
Okay,
those multiple different
small
options you get. Yeah, but you remember when we look at different quilting patterns for piecing quilts together, you have all these different measurements, and sometimes you don't have a millimeter around or a centimeter around or something that goes directly to that.
Exactly.
Now you have that tool easy to follow.
Okay.
And the great thing about this is it's see-through. So I can look right through that and I can put it on fabric if I was trying to get something lined up with a seam and have that exact measurement, which is really, really nice.
Okay.
So that's going to take us through the first three. The next one is going to be a quarter, a 3/8, a half, a 5/8, and a 3/4 seam guide. So what you can do with this, and we'll go over to the sewing machine here in a second, is you can line your needle up in this hole and then use a piece of painter's tape and then follow that with your fabric while you're stitching, and that's going to give you that perfect seam guide.
Cool, because some sewing machines don't have that.
Exactly. Some sewing machines don't have a 1/4-inch option.
Got it.
Or if if it needs to be a 3/8-inch seam, you line that up with your needle, use a little bit of piece of painter's tape, and then follow that fabric with a straight line stitch, and now you've got that 3/8 stitch.
Okay.
Which is really, really nice. You also have a scant quarter seam, and for those of you that don't know, and we'll take a look at the sewing machine too, a scant quarter is just a hair shorter than a 1/4-inch seam. Do you know what the difference is between those ones?
No.
No? So you'll see a lot of people use, myself personally as well, use a scant 1/4-inch seam when they are piecing together, because it takes into effect and it compensates in for that tiny amount of fabric that gets balled up or basically gets shrunk in when you're flipping the fabric over to press the seam.
Oh, I get it.
So
okay.
so that way your block always lines up perfect, because if you use a 1/4 and that takes up a little bit more when you're pressing the seam, then those don't match up.
Got it.
So it also has that scant, so you can line that up to that and then have that scant 1/4-inch seam, which is really, really cool. It has a point turner, which is great for doing bindings. This is kind of like a stiletto. Remember those stiletto things? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like having one of those built onto that as well. A 45-degree angle, I use this when I'm doing binding as well. Gives you that perfect 45-degree, and we'll look at that too. A 60-degree angle right over here. Each pattern's a little bit different when you're piecing, so you can line up that angle, and maybe if you want to make a 60-degree triangle stitch, you could do that as well.
Okay.
Seam press, I use this more than I probably think I need to because it's quick and easy. You can easily just pick that up and press down the seam as opposed to having to use your finger or whip out the iron and do that. And then you also have a seam allowance guide, which is going to be right there for you, that dotted line all the way down.
That is so cool, and such a tiny little tool.
All those, and just tiny little handheld tool, fits right there in the hand, ready to go. And then it also has this little holder right here, so if you want to put like a little clip on it or something to clip it onto your bag or your sewing case, that way you never lose it. You can clip it into there or put it on your pegboard rack or something like that that you have in your studio.
Cool.
So let's walk over to the sewing machine real quick and take a look at how some of these are used, because there's some really cool features that we can do with
I
it.
can't wait to see that.
So over here at the machine, I've got my Stitcher's Friend, and I've got some simple strips here to show you how to use the different seam guides that you have here that we showed just a second ago. Now, on certain machines, especially newer ones, they have all these different markings that you can follow on this machine. However, some of the older machines, or some of the more cost-effective machines, even the one I have at home, doesn't have all of these nice markings. So this really helps you when you're trying to get that perfect seam guide that you want, especially with the quilt pattern that you have. So what I can do is, with the seam press side pointing towards me, I'm going to lay my Stitcher's Friend underneath my presser foot, and I'm going to get that into alignment with whatever seam guide I want. So let's say we're going to do a 1/4 inch seam, and I can drop my needle down into the hole for the 1/4 inch. Now, it's important that you rock your needle down into that hole, as opposed to using the needle down function on your machine, just in case it's not exactly where you need it to be. So I can rock my needle right down into that. I'm going to put my presser foot down so it keeps that steady. Don't stitch yet, but just get that steady there. And I'm going to grab a piece of painter's tape, because I like a nice long line to follow. So I can put that painter's tape along the right side of my Stitcher's Friend and butt it right up against that nice flat straight edge. Put that painter's tape down, and then we can pull our needle up, pull up our presser foot, and then move our Stitcher's Friend off to the side. So now when I do a regular straight line stitch, as long as I'm following the side of this painter's tape here, I'm going to have that perfect 1/4 inch, or whatever you'd like it to be at that time. So I'm going to grab my strips and put those right alongside that painter's tape. Put my presser foot down, and then we can start stitching. So just to show you how easy it is to follow that, as long as you're following that painter's tape, you're good to go. Just like so. So that was a 1/4. Let's try a different seam. So trim my threads. So that was our nice 1/4 inch seam. Beautiful being able to follow that painter's tape. So now let's try a 5/8. Why not? So we're going to pull up our painter's tape. Set that off to the side, put on our Stitcher's Friend, roll your needle down into the 5/8 hole, like so. Put your hopping foot or presser foot down, that way it stays steady. Put your painter's tape along the right side of your Stitcher's Friend. Just like that. Pull up your needle. And pull up your presser foot, and then move that bad boy right out of the way, just like so. So then we can do the exact same thing. We'll just use the exact same side that we just stitched on. Set this here to the side. Line the side of our fabric up with the side of our painter's tape. Put our presser foot down, and you can start stitching right then and there. Just like so. So easy, so fast to line up that needle for that perfect seam guide. And just like that, we've got a nice, different, beautiful stitch length there. So that's how you use your seam guide tool. Let's take a look at how we would use the seam press, because you'd be surprised how many times you're actually using it. So I'm going to do a quick stitch here real quick, just a straight line stitch again on another side of our strips. Nothing fancy, just a regular, still 5/8 inch. We'll cut that. And then we can open up our fabric and say we want to do a press of opening our seams. So I can start to open them up with my finger, like so. And I can take my seam press tool and just press right down the edge here. A little bit of pressure as you're doing this, and just kind of run it against the fabric just like that. And that's going to give you a nice easy press. No need to get up and walk over to the sewing machine, or excuse me, sewing machine, the iron. Goodness gracious, we're at the sewing machine. But you can stay right here and just use that press over and over again. We can flip this if you want to push your seams over to one side, depending on what pattern you're piecing. You can press it down to this side. And just like that, we've got a nice flipped over press seam, press to that green side for nice work doing stitch in the ditch or for securing your seams down a little bit more. So let's take a look at some of the other tools built onto this. What I'm going to do is I'll remove my painter's tape, move it off to the side, and let's take a look at binding. I use the Stitcher's Friend when I'm binding all the time. So right now I'm working on this little tiny piece and binding it. And when I do binding, I like to do a scant 1/4 inch. I just find I have better luck with that. It's just all personal preference. So your scant 1/4 inch guide is right up here. So what we'll do is line that up, same way we do the other seam guides, and rock our needle down into that hole, just like so. Remember to drop your presser foot to keep it steady. Grab your painter's tape along the side, right here. Pull up your needle and remove Stitcher's Friend, put it off to the side. And then we can start our binding project. Right here, wherever I finished off, keep it in alignment with that painter's tape. Rock this down. And then we can start stitching. There we go. Get my binding. There we go. Nice and flat and straight. And then we can start stitching. We're going to stitch down the side of this. And as I get close to the end, what I'm going to do is, right about there is good. I'm going to take my Stitcher's Friend, and I like to do a nice 45-degree off to the side. That's what Grandma always taught me to do, and she taught us in that video. Nice to do a good 45-degree off to the side when you're going into it. So get this in alignment. You can even pull up your presser foot if you need to get it right there, if you went a little too far like I just did. Right there, and I am going to take a pin just so you have a visual, but you can use a chalk pencil so it doesn't bleed through. And I'm just going to mark down my 45-degree all the way to the corner of that quilt. And let me get myself a little bit more so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. Just like so. And I say just like so. One more time. Third time's a charm, right? When you're marking stuff. Gotta love live videos. There we go. All right, so there you can really see it. Like I said, I would probably use a chalk pencil so it doesn't bleed through, but this is so you have a visual. So we'll put our foot back down. And I'm going to stitch all the way up until I hit that ink or that chalk. So I'm going to stitch all the way until I hit that. Right there is good. And I'm going to pull up my foot just a little bit and turn so I can get a nice 45-degree straight line down that line that I just made. And we'll stitch, back stitch a little bit, and cut. So just like that, we've gone right down that 45-degree line that we made. And just like Grandma taught us, we're going to flip over that line we just drew. And I'm going to take my seam press tool, and I'm going to press these together. Just like so. That gives a nice, beautiful mitered edge. And then we're going to take our binding and flip it this way, over that, just like so. And just to keep it more steady, I'm also going to press on this right side as well. So we'll press right there. Beautiful. And I'm going to rotate this back into alignment. And starting off the edge, or as close to off the edge as I can get. Get that back in alignment. There we go. And we're going to start stitching. Back stitch to lock it down. And you'd continue your way all the way around. Just like so. So I'm going to stop here just so we can keep moving on it. But now if I flipped this open, you've got that beautiful 45-degree point there that you've made. And if I rocked that just like so, if I have any excess fabric, I can take my little point turner tool and get it in there and really pop it and make it nice and straight, just like so. So you can get that, and as you're working on your binding, it ends up looking absolutely stunning as you're working around it. With that 45, with the seam press, with the point turner, all that stuff is awesome. Another great use for the point turner, when we did the balloon video on how to make a fabric balloon, there were a ton of points in this fabric balloon template. It would have been really nice to have this where I could just go right into this fabric nice and easy and get in here and press out any of these additional points. So that point turner really, really is a game changer for you, having it right here on your hand. And I think we forgot to mention, this tool is less than $5, available on our website, longarmsupplies.net. And it's just something that you have to have. It's so nice to have it. And you've seen many uses for it today, and I'm sure you're going to think of many other uses on it. And any other uses that you come up with, make sure you drop it in the comment section below.
This is so cool. That was really cool. I loved watching what you were doing over there.
Every time I do any type of tutorial, it's always fun watching it, because I know she's like, if you watch her behind the camera, whole time. So I'm like, you gonna say anything? She's just like, I didn't know it could do that.
I know. I'm learning at the same time, so it's hard for me to talk as I'm learning. You know, I get older. I gotta say one task. So, but no, like you said, less than $5. Great tool, great to have in your arsenal.
Love this I love it.
And for your friends.
I gave these as gifts for Christmas.
Yeah.
I gave a ton of them out for Christmas. These are great stocking stuffers. It's time to start thinking about Christmas already. But gifts for guilds, retreats, any type of different thing like that.
Exactly.
Someone's birthday, something quick. Yeah. It's really nice to have around.
Exactly.
And they're super cute.
Cool.
Absolutely love them. All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this evening. We will see you tomorrow morning for Good Morning LEQ. Bye.
Bye.